It's not only for, in general, there is a human being who, every human being at the moment of death is just a name, deserves to be burned. No, she said something very embarrassing, you must know it. She says, no, if it were to be my children, I can, she doesn't say, it's my plastic paraphrase so that you will understand me. I can screw again, I could have produced more children. It's not my parent, it's only because it's my brother. Quote, what law do I appeal to claiming this? If my husband died, there would be another one. And if I were to lose a child of man, I would have another with some other man. But since my father and my mother too are hidden away in Hades' house, dead, I never have another living brother. That was the law I used to honor you. You got here the gap. It's not just general laws, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, and no wonder, we get a very weird particularization. That was her true motive. And I think the important thing here is to interpret properly this motive, which again, it was a traumatic point for almost all classical interpreters. Maybe you know that Judith Butler is kind of uncertain here because this ruins her argument that Antigone is a kind of a postmodern, politically correct liberal who cares about those excluded and so on. Goethe started it all. Goethe even claimed a crazy theory that this must have been a later intrusion. No, not really there. Now, the way we have to read it, I think it's precisely not in the incest way. Now, of course, you can say, okay, maybe not in a normal case, but you, Joan, made once nicely this moment. It was such a beautiful, cynical point. You said once, I remember that, okay, but we are nonetheless in the family of Oedipus, no, and like here maybe it's reasonable to mention incest, no. But my answer to you would have been here that, you know, that wonderful idea of Lévi-Strauss, Claude Lévi-Strauss, who mentions some tribe where they claim that all dreams have a sexual meaning except those who are explicitly about sexuality, no? And I would say something similar here, that if this were to happen in any other than Oedipus family, you can say, yeah, Oedipus incest. Precisely here, you shouldn't. So, but let's not go now into too many details. What I would like to point out only is that this specific structure of how you have a general vague idea, a general unclear, vague idea, and then only through passing through the act does your intention become clear to you. And now, this doesn't go only for Antigone. This goes for the entire moment of, how should I put it, historical development for Hegel. Now I have to go a little bit deeper here into the topic of concrete universality, because what I'm talking here about is concrete universality. Now we have to be here very precise. I'm sorry, I don't have time to prove it with all the quotes and so on and so on. But it's the following crucial point. Hegel's dialectical development means what? It doesn't mean, now comes the crucial point, because it doesn't mean a kind of a simple rendering conscious what was unconscious. Hegel's point is not, that's crucial, that deep in herself, Antigone knew somehow, it was in her unconscious, that it is about brother. But that only through the act, it became clear to her what was there. No, Hegel's point is that it is through this externalization that the true meaning constitutes itself. There is no previous meaning. In other words, if we apply this to the famous Hegelian notion of cunning of reason, Licht der Vernunft, Hegel, the usual criticism of Hegel is the following one. Of course, at the level of individual lives, we are unconscious, in the sense of something pushes us, we do something totally different emerges. But, so the story goes, there is nonetheless what Hegel calls cunning of reason. There is an underlying teleological reason in history which, as it were, secretly pulls the strings. And it is, as it were, the reason manipulates that. You think you are doing this, but you are a tool of some universal reason which uses your particular passions for another goal. Now we come again to the crucial point. It is not this. Why not? Because for Hegel, to put it very simply, there is no universal reason like this. History itself is a patchwork. It improvises. I will try to develop this. What do I mean by this? The usual notion of evolution, and even Hegel is usually understood like this, is that you have a general principle which is slowly, gradually deploying its potentials till it becomes more and more concrete, elaborated. For example, the best known maybe example from Hegel's theory of history. You have state, the idea of state. First, it's the primitive, I'm here referring to Hegel, politically incorrect. First, we have the primitive despotic state, Oriental, then gradually it develops itself, ancient Greek state, where some people are free, medieval state, finally modern bourgeois state, where, okay, let's not go into it too deep, but for Hegel, all are free, so that finally we get a state which fits his notion. The universal form of state gradually develops its content. And as Hegel is usually read, this is then some kind of a self-referring circle. The circle is closed. Things are only becoming what they always already were, implicitly in their notion. Again, so that again we have one underlying universal principle which gradually gets richer and richer, more concrete, develop itself. I think this absolutely misses the point of Hegel, which is that we don't have any underlying substantial concept which somehow then, as kind of universal reason, directs the process. It's on the contrary that the struggle is the struggle at the level of the universal itself. And this is what Hegel means by a concrete universality. Let me give another improvisation referring to some of my works to make this crucial point to you clear. The notion of, I often wrote polemics against it, alternate modernity, which was very fashionable in some leftist circles as a tool against neo-colonialism, claiming why should the Western liberal capitalist, Cartesian, whatever, modernity be the only game in the town? We can have our own Chinese, Latin American, whatever, African modernity. Like there are more modernities, not one modernity, which is then colonized by the West. I follow here my good friend Fred Jameson and claim that this is ideology at its purest. Why? Because the dream beneath is, sorry for the dirty word, a proto-fascist dream. It's the dream that you can have modernity without paying the price for it. The dream of all these stories, because let's be clear, modernity is another name for capitalism. What the theories of alternate modernity want to deliver is capitalism, but without, as it were, the bad side, without its antagonisms and so on and so on. So, where is then Hegel's concrete universality? Hegel would have said that modernity, of course it is true what, at some level, what partisans of alternate modernity are claiming, that we don't have one modernity, all that really exists is the multiplicity of modernities. We have the Western liberal type of modernity and so on and so on. But what they forget is that modernity in itself, it's not just some kind of an abstract principle. What defines modernity is its basic, whatever we want to call it, antagonism,